boom right there so
So
they'll be able to see us?
That's a control on their side.
So again, welcome to the Cedar Heights Incoming Family Night. Our purpose.
My friend.
Dr. Kane, you got yourself on mute.
So at Cedar Heights, our focus is on inspiring excellence and shaping futures. And what that simply means is we want to push our students to do their best each and every day so they become their best selves. So by doing so, they're able to make their dreams a reality. And two important people that are on this presentation with me tonight that are integral and essential for leading our school and helping us become the best school we can be is first, Joby Flint, our assistant principal. And second, George Duarte, our dean of students. And somewhere out there hidden from all of you is our counselors, Brenna Peterson and Joel Teets. So as I said, this is being recorded. So we've muted everyone. We've turned off your video because we want to respect that not everyone wants their image captured in a recording. At the end of this, we will be answering questions. So we're going to ask that you submit your questions via chat, and Mrs. Flint and Mr. Duarte will be tracking those and creating a Google Doc. And then at the very end of the presentation, we will answer those in the order received. So what does it mean to push our kids to pursue excellence or to inspire excellence? And at Cedar Heights, our image of excellence is captured in what we call our student learner profile. This is who we want our students to become and be as they walk out of our school. And so first and foremost, well, not first and foremost, because these are all equal and they're all important. We want them to be inquirers. We want them to be people who ask really good questions and seek to understand. We want them to be knowledgeable about a wide array of different ideas, concepts, and content. We want them to be individuals who take what they're learning and think about it and process it and engage in it. And then as they're working through it, that they can effectively communicate what they know, what they understand, and the questions they have. An important piece in that is that they're people who are open-minded about what they're receiving. And what that means to us is that they're people who consider ideas of others, not necessarily always agreeing with it, but are critical recipients of this information that they're taking in. And as important as we want them to be as students, it's also important to us about who they are. And so we want them to be people of character or people who are principled. We want them to be people who care. They care about themselves, they care about their community, and they care about those around them. We want them to be balanced so that they are broad people and have a broad life. And lastly, we want them to be people who are risk takers because we know growth only happens in risk. And finally, we want them to be reflective. We want them to be individuals who ask each day, how can I become better? And by doing that, we feel like we'll be preparing them for their world that they'll be going into and preparing them to really go after their dreams for who they want to be. And all of this is captured in our Cedar Heights mission statement. And what I want to pull out is I bolded some key words that really capture our values and who we are and what we're trying and how we're trying to do what we are doing. First and foremost is the concept of each student. We want to know our kids as individuals and treat them as individuals and empower them as individuals. And that's our next thing. We're not about saving kids. We're not about doing anything other than giving kids what they need to make their dreams a reality. And we believe that part of that is by establishing a couple of values in their lives. First and foremost, that they buy into the concept that it's not about meeting standard, it's about exceeding. It's about always trying to be their best selves. It's about having a passion for learning, knowing that learning is not an event, it's something that's ongoing in a process. We also want them to be people who live in relationships and know and have positive relationships, beginning with themselves, beginning with their peers, and then moving to their peers and then expanding out to their community. And finally, we know that in order to do that, and whatever dreams they do achieve, if they do that without being people who live with integrity, honesty, and respect, or without character, it will lead to an empty accomplishment. So what do these key ideas mean? Well, first and foremost, about exceeding academic standards, we really have 4 ways we try and support and push kids to do this. It starts with setting very high standards of expectation. We want kids to be the best versions of themselves. And so we're going to set the standards high, and then we're going to provide them the support to meet their standards. We're going to push them and insist that they give their best, knowing that their best will look different for different kids. And finally, we know that when they're giving their best, for some, they're going to need intervention, and others are going to need enrichment, and that we provide that to kids as their individual needs. Because again, it's about knowing them as individuals and supporting them as individuals. It is my hope that at the end of 3 years, our students will walk out saying about Cedar Heights, it was the hardest place that they ever loved. The next key value that we that I shared with you is about building positive relationships, and we try and do this in 3 ways. One, it's about building connections and relationships with our students, so that then we can start fostering connections and relationships between our students, and then finally, through things like service learning and students taking on leadership and in different opportunities, that we instill a sense of responsibility for their larger community, that they walk out understanding that they are their community and their community will be as great as they insist upon. It's also about the people who they will become. And at Cedar Heights, living with integrity, honesty, and respect is captured in a value that we all know as adults as the golden rule. But at Cedar Heights, we want our students to know as the Rain Devil commitment, which is to treat others as they want to be treated. And as we moved into the texting world and the world of social media, how we've tried to capture this for kids and make it relatable is with the simple tagline of #BeKind. You'll see on our walls a statement that says, be the I in kind, because it's getting that sense that if we all act the way we want to be treated, Cedar Heights will be a place everyone wants to be at. And then the final idea is that learning is lifelong and it's a passion. So we're really driven by this quote by William Yeats, which is, education is not the filling of a pail, but it's the lighting of the fire. It's the idea that it's a passion for learning, not an event that happens. So it's not about getting an A on a test. It's about learning as much as you can. And you know, when you take that test, all it's doing is telling you what you learned, so that tests and things like that are used for their real purpose, which is to help kids take the ownership of who they're becoming. So at Cedar Heights, there's 8 areas of emphasis because we want balanced kids. We want well-rounded learners. So we offer kids art and technology, access to world languages of Spanish and Japanese, science, PE, math, language arts, social studies. We want to give kids access to all these areas and not limit them to, say, just getting reading, writing, and math, because that's most important. Because we are looking at the education is that the education of the whole person, not just a narrow vision of a standardized test. So how do we teach it? And I think this is the key that makes us, that drives what we want kids' experience to be like, is we're driven by the idea that learning is a process, not a product, that we want kids to be problem solvers and to make meaning of what they're learning. And they're going to make the meaning by integrating ideas from multiple subject areas and then using what they're learning and applying it. And in order to do this, they have to be critical thinkers. They need to every day be analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating the ideas that they're taking in and processing to determine what they own. And finally, we want kids to be risk takers. It's kind of going back to the phrase that comes out of I have young kids, so I get to watch a lot of Pixar movies. And one of the ones that I just love is Meet the Robinsons. And in it, the key phrase is keep moving forward. It's the idea that Thomas Edison shared when with creation of the light bulb, that he didn't discover 3,000 ways not to make a light bulb or 3,000 failures. It was 3,000 ways where he successfully determined that didn't work. And if we can approach failure that way, we will continue to grow. And why are we doing this? Well, we want to increase the number of our students who leave our schools ready for college or career. But more importantly, I'd rather say, I should have put it this way, it's leaving our schools with the skills to be able to pursue their dreams. So we know that in order to do this, it's a partnership between us and you and our students. And it's a 60-60-60 partnership. And what I mean by that is everyone has to invest in it a little more than is reasonable. That if we can all do that, then we know we're going to meet each of our kids and support each of our kids and really being able to pursue their dreams. So what do we ask of students? We want them here at school unless they're sick. We want them to every day spend an hour reviewing what they learned or preparing for what they're going to need tomorrow. An example would be reading a book every day for 20 minutes, going through their notes from their history class or their science class to make sure they understood what was presented. It's not necessarily doing 100 math problems, but it's review and preparation. We also want students to be advocates for themselves. We want them to ask questions when they don't understand or seek out extra help as they need it. We want them to own their learning by setting goals and monitoring their grades in Skyward to see if they're on track to meeting those goals. And finally, we want them involved in connecting with the Cedar Heights community involved. So to find a place where their interests match an opportunity, or if we don't have one, taking the leadership to create that so that we can have a greater and greater number of kids involved and feeling connected to their Cedar Heights. Or as we like to say, Team Cedar. What we ask of you is we need your help. We will never successfully achieve this if we aren't working together. And here's some ways we ask you to work with us. Is one, just provide your student a quiet place and time so they can complete their power hour every evening. That you know how your students are doing in their classes by using Skyward Family Access and communicating with your students' teachers. Encouraging your students to be here unless they're feeling sick. If they're sick, if they have a temperature, if they've thrown up, please keep them home. We want them here healthy, because if they're healthy, they're better able to engage in learning. And when they're not feeling well, it probably isn't the best use of their time anyway. We also want kids to be involved. We understand that different families have different needs, but where you're available to support, the more we can have kids involved, the more connected they'll be at the school. And we would ask that you would help support them in that. Additionally, we ask that you push us to be our best. We ask you to push us kindly and tactfully, and in a way that we're able to hear it, but we want to be a school that is not afraid of critical feedback. Specifically, we know that great schools and excellent schools are those that engage in their growth areas and don't shy from them, so that we can continually get better. And lastly, we want you to volunteer where your passions and interests match our need. The more you can be involved, the more you can be connected. Sometimes in moving from the elementary school, families have an idea that now is the time they can disengage. And I would say it's all the more important time to be engaged. Know your middle schooler, who their friends are, be a part of our school. You are welcome and invited. But any partnership is two-way. And I can remember when my son went to school and his elementary school sent me a partnership commitment that only had what he was going to do and what I was going to do. And I was like, and we don't want to be that kind of school. So there are some things we are committing to do as well. We are going to know your student as an individual. We're going to create structures and systems so that your teachers know your kid and that your teachers are actively working to support your kid. We're also going to commit that students are given timely feedback on their work so they know how to grow. We're going to make sure that grades are updated on a weekly basis. Now, this is accepting major assignments like essays or major projects, but even those we're committing to get evaluated with feedback and returned to kids in a timely manner. We're also committing to provide support when we see a need. So if we see a need, that we're working with you to find a way to get them the instruction, the tools, whatever it takes to help them overcome that challenge. We also commit to responding to all communication within a school business day. One caveat, I just want to make sure I'm making clear on, Friday at 5, you probably won't get a response until Monday because it's one school business day, but we want to be timely in our response. Additionally, teachers commit to sending weekly updates for each of their classes. Different teachers do this in different ways. Some use social media, some use Skyward, but we want to send out a weekly update so that you are aware of what's going on in class, because communication is the key and the foundation to all partnership. And finally, we commit to attending conferences where students have a need. For instance, if they have an IEP or a 504 plan, that we will be at those meetings. Spring and fall student-led conferences, or just when a parent conference is needed in order to come up with a plan so we're all on the same page, working to support your kid. So part of ensuring we know your student as an individual starts with the transition into Cedar. And we work very hard to provide each of our incoming 6th graders with a very structured, intentional process for becoming part of Cedar Heights and our Rain Devil community. And so to talk a little bit more about that, I've asked Joby Flint, our assistant principal, to give you an overview of how we do this.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. I'm so glad to see everybody here tonight. We have a great turnout, and you guys are proficient at using the chat feature. I noticed that we have siblings of current students who are chiming in and helping out with information. I love to see that. And as Dr. Kane said, when 6th graders come to Cedar Heights, we've built systems and structures to help support them. One of those is that they have 2 blocked classes. So they will take an ELA social studies block and a math science block, and that's taught by 1 teacher each. So 4 classes squeezed down to 2 teachers. And then those kids are also teamed with a group of kiddos and teachers so that they can create kind of a school within a school or a little community. Maybe think about like Hogwarts houses, if that helps you kind of figure out how you team up there. Also, our 8th graders, and this came up in the chat, are a group of our 8th graders are Cedar leaders, and they participate in a program called WEB, Where Everyone Belongs. Those 8th graders go into 6th grade classrooms and they teach lessons to the 6th graders on community and how to navigate middle school and all the scary things that you think about when you're thinking about coming up to middle school. And then you have an 8th grade friend. So when you're walking the halls, you're like, oh, that's my WEB buddy, which is a great way to know each kid individually and have a place to belong. And we got to unmute, Mr. Kane.
Thank you. Also, one thing you should know is the first day of school is we'll have an open house in August for all kids so they can come in and give tours. One of the things we try and do every year is give kids 3 touch points before starting the school year. This COVID remote learning has limited some of that. So we hope to catch up some of those experiences in August with an open house where we'll be handing out schedules, providing tours of the school, meeting teachers. And then also the first day of the school year, if we're in a traditional start, we'll start with the morning being just for 6th graders, where we connect them with those 8th graders as a means and put them in intentional groups, small groups, so they can start building relationships with their peers as they launch the school year. So thank you, Mrs. Flint. Great message. So appreciate it. And as you heard me say, we know that Cedar Heights is only going to be as great of an experience as kids choose to make it. And part of that is getting involved, whether it's in activities during the school day or extracurricular sports. But to give an idea of how to get involved, we've asked Mr. George Duarte, our Dean of Students, to talk with you a little bit about how that can happen.
Thank you, Dr. Kane. So I just want to ditto what Mrs. Flint had started with. We want to thank everyone for being here tonight. We certainly appreciate you being here. listening to some of the information that is being given to you. So I am also the athletic director at the school, and I'm in charge with making sure that we are functioning and doing things that are great for our kids after school. Here's the thing, you are very fortunate. So the last couple of years, we have provided an intramural program for our incoming sixth graders. Because the WIAA, which is the overseeing body of the state for athletics, did not recognize or give participation for our sixth graders. Well, that has changed. This past spring, WII has now given permission for all sixth graders to be able to participate in all of the sports that we offer, for the exception of football. Football is not sixth graders are not able to participate in our football program. So we have 4 winter sports. We have our fall sports that begin with baseball and fast pitch, and track. We have 2 winter sports. A winter one has the boys basketball, and we have girls soccer. Winter 2 provides a girls basketball with wrestling. And then our spring sports finish with football, volleyball, and cross country. So we, at this point, are still going to offer our intramural programs for those sixth graders that are not as interested, or really are a little shy and don't feel confident about trying out for the sports that we have. We will have some intramural programs for you. The seasons are going to be a little shorter than the regular ones, but again, gives you an opportunity to be involved and be a part of our program. We ran these programs the last 3 years. Our district, South Kitsap District, is the only district that offers this intramural program. We just felt that it's important to include incoming sixth graders, since now we have you at our school as a middle schooler. So we're excited for that. We have a number of clubs that you can participate in or be a part of. If you notice that there's a club that maybe you're interested in maybe putting together, we can talk about how that would look and what you would need to do so. For instance, Dungeons and Dragons last year, we had a number of kids who were so interested in having a Dungeons and Dragons club to be able to meet after school and play their game and do all the things that they do. And so they went through the steps to kind of be able to have that. So again, there's opportunities out there for you. Just got to be able to connect with you and talk with you and what your interests are, and we can lead you in that path. So we're so looking forward to next fall and having you on our campuses, and we'll hope to talk to you at then. Dr. Kane?
Thank you. So that kind of captures who and what we are. And now we just like to open it to questions. So Mrs. Flint, do you have our first question for us?
I do. I'm just going to go in the order the questions were asked. And the first question is about, when will we know our kids' schedules?
So I kind of referenced that briefly, but in August, it's traditionally the Thursday before school starts. We will host, and I think that's August 29th this year, but I would need to double check my calendar to give you the specific date. But that Thursday, we have an evening open house, and at that event, we hand out students' schedules. And we wait to ensure that building a master schedule and ensuring that every kid is in the right, we want to make sure that it's accurate. And as staffing changes sometimes over the summer, that impacts our schedule. So the reason why we wait till late August is that means it's most likely to be current and accurate and reflective of the first day of school.
And following right on the heels of that is the question of, when does school start?
School is slated to start the Wednesday after Labor Day, which, if I'm remembering correctly, is September 9th this year.
Okay. Kind of on that same vein, the question is, are we leaning more towards having school in class, or are we more likely to continue remote learning?
We are waiting for direction from the governor and the superintendent. Right now, we are planning on starting in a traditional format, unless we're told otherwise. But as a district, we are planning for alternative versions of a start that are still being developed. But I can tell you, we just had a meeting today, where the district leadership team representing teachers, principals, central office administrators, we're all coming together to develop that model. And as soon as we get further direction from the state, I'm sure Superintendent Winter will be communicating that out to families. And because it's not my direction, not my decision, I want to be careful and not sharing too much in case the model that's under current development changes.
Mr. Duarte, this question is probably best suited for you. Is there a soccer club?
So we currently do not have a soccer club. We do have soccer teams. We have girls soccer is the only soccer that we have, and we have intramural soccer, but we don't have a soccer club as at this point.
And following right on that, the question is, will fall sports start before the first day of school?
So if we have a traditional opening for next year, again, just going off the heels of what Dr. Kane has said, if we have a traditional start for next year, fall sports will begin the first day of school.
And I'll take this question. It says, are there any clubs? And if yes, what are they? Oh, we do have a lot of clubs. Like Mr. Duarte mentioned, we have a Dungeons and Dragons club. We have a gardening club. We have a journalism club. We have a science club. We have an art club. Cedar Wildlife meets after school on Fridays. What am I missing, Mr. Duarte and Mr. Kane, of our clubs? We have quite a slew of them.
We do got quite a few slips, so it's hard to kind of have it listed, but we do have quite a bit. And as I mentioned it before, if there is a club that anybody is interested in helping promote or start, we can help them, guide them to the steps necessary for that. I do see some questions that are coming in. I just want to touch base on, since we're in the sports realm and the activities realm, how do you sign up for the sports? If you go to our Cedar webpage and click under athletics, there is a form that you'll need to fill out. There's a participation form, and there's additional forms that will need to be included for athletic packet. Fill out the packet, and then at this point, again, if we're allowed to back into the building prior to the first day, and we're doing the open house kind of venue, you can start to turn in the packets at that point. So we'll give you more information as it gets closer as to how we're going to handle signing up. But your first step would be sign up, fill out the packet, get your physical in order, get all the documents in order, so that when we are got the green light to move forward, then you're ready for that.
And I see a lot of requests for a Magic Gathering Club. And absolutely, when you get to Cedar, I will help you organize that club. We have quite a few kids who play that game at lunch. We also have kids who play chess at lunch. We have 4 chess boards set up every day at lunch for kids to play.
And I saw an anime. We do have a Japanese club that I know that is an interest of many of the kids in that club.
Okay, here's a question. It says, students with IEPs, has it been decided if they will be giving up an elective to have a specialist class? I can answer.
Oh, go ahead if you have.
Sorry, Mr. Kane. Sorry about that. Yeah, so most of our students with IEPs, the very, very vast majority will get to take one elective, and then they will have one specialist class to help close that gap for them. It's real important that they have a good broad range of exposure, like Dr. Kane said. So that's what we're going to try to do for that. And you can be in more than one club.
And oftentimes that decision will be determined by the IEP team.
Correct. Okay, let me read some of these questions as they come in order. Is orchestra before school, after school, or during school?
It's during the day. So, and it depends on the level you're at. There's Mrs. Flint, you probably can tell me, I forget. Are we doing 2 levels this year? Or
yes.
1? 2 levels.
Okay. So you'll either be a beginning orchestra student, or you will be in the intermediate, advanced orchestra playing together. Dr. Kane, this is a great question for you. This student or parent was wondering, what classes should they take to be a lawyer?
Well, it depends on who you want to be. What I would say in middle school is taking the best, most challenging classes you can take, because the success as an attorney is going to be tied to your ability to think critically and to apply information you've learned over time and then communicate those ideas effectively. So the core classes, definitely. I think language, I think music, I think arts, all of those will contribute to it. But find things that you're interested in, and by following your interests, you're going to be more engaged in, you'll learn more, and you'll be better prepared.
Okay, thank you. And I would say make sure that you just delve into your writing classes.
I would also throw out drama and public speaking might be a good opportunity for you.
Okay, so is there a cheer team or a drill team is a question we have?
We do have a dance team, and so Mrs. Crosby runs that. I failed to mention that of some of our activities that we have to offer, and that is winter too. So it's sometime in January through the end of the year, because she runs through basketball and the spring sports football.
Okay, and how long is the lunch time? This is an excellent question, as I am a fan of lunch.
Do you want me to answer that?
Sure.
It's 30 minutes, but maybe Mr. Duarte, you should probably answer that because you are the lunchtime guru.
So it is 30 minutes. And I think I saw another question come through about lunchtime, if they're able to go outside during their lunch. And so, yes, we do have a routine during lunches where you come in and enjoy your meal. And then we give brief announcements before we dismiss for you to be able to go outside and hang out and wait for your 30 minutes bell to ring and go back to class. So yes.
So that answers two questions. There was a question, is there any outside time? So thank you for answering that. The question is about being in band. Do they need to pay for the instrument? And I can answer that. No, we have a system where you can check out an instrument from the school, so you do not have to rent your own instrument. And I will also answer this question. Does the school have any dances for the kids? We have planned socials after school where there is music playing, there's an open gym, there's usually a movie showing, sometimes we have a craft room, all kinds of things going on for kids from 3 to 5 after school. We run several of those a year. Is there a book club?
Yes. Our librarian hosts at lunch a monthly or a weekly book club to discuss books that a group of students have a common interest in reading together and discussing.
I'm getting this question a lot. Mr. Duarte, you can answer this. How many clubs can a student join?
Well, it's going to depend on the day that the club meets. So we have a variety of different clubs that meet Monday through Thursday, and maybe some Fridays. So if it fits in your schedule that you're able to show up on a Monday and a Tuesday or even a Wednesday that those clubs are being held, then yes, you can be in multiple clubs. Yes.
And this parent wants to know, are there volunteer opportunities for parents, Mr. Kane?
So we have lots of opportunities for parents to volunteer. We have our PTA. We have our key communicators, which would meet with me quarterly to talk about how Cedar functions, what our policies are, how we work as a school to make our vision and mission a reality. But really what drives it, we have a volunteer coordinator, Kristen Klein, who we'd put you in connection with, because what we'd want to find is a place where your interests meet our need. So if there are things that you would love to volunteer in and around, such as chaperoning at dances, chaperoning at field trips, being a volunteer in a class, like a math class, helping out with, we have a robotics class that brings in, and after school model airplane club. There are just different things. We have a gardening club. Really, it's finding the places where you're interested in to be connected in the school. And so we would use Kristen Klein, our volunteer coordinator, to help facilitate that and make that happen.
Here's a question about band. Can the child pick the instrument they want to play, or is it predetermined and they're given a common instrument? And Mr. Kane, as a former band member and also practicing violinist, I'll let you answer that.
It's my understanding they're allowed to pick based on their interest. But I would have to talk with my band teacher to confirm that. But I'm pretty certain that they're allowed to pick the instrument of their choice.
Yes,
And
because we want them to play one they like.
yes, and play for long term. And I believe they have a whole process for going through that.
Okay, so Crystal wants to go to Harvard University, and I think that's a great goal. And when you get ready, you let me know. My good friend is a Harvard alumni, and he is also a teacher, and you will need a letter from an alumni on your admission. So Crystal, you let me know when you're ready, and we'll hook you up. Here's a question.
I would encourage you on that, just to say, Crystal, if that's your goal, talk with Mrs. Flint as a 6th grader about the process for making that happen, because it is a 4 or 5 year process to go through.
Okay, and Mr. Kane, they would like to know what kind of field trips there are.
Oh, we have several different field trips. One is every grade at Cedar Heights gets the opportunity to visit a college campus. 6th graders go to PLU, 7th graders have gone to Seattle Pacific, and 8th graders go to UW for their engineering days activity. We're also trying to figure out a way to get kids to a tech school. Some other things that have happened in the past is we have our 8th graders go on an end of experience field trip. Our 7th graders have done the Washington State History Museum. So there's a whole plethora of different field trips that happen each year. We also do have 2 teachers who, they're not school sponsored trips, but we have 2 teachers who sponsor our U.S. history. One of our U.S. history teachers takes kids to Washington, D.C., and our Spanish teachers taking kids to Spain. And those are summer experiences. So there are a whole host of different ones. And yeah.
And this person wants to know how many class periods in a day there are.
We have been on a 7-period day, but starting next year, we will be going to a 6-period day.
Okay, and one more time for this question. Why are only band and music for electives? But I don't think that's actually true. 6th graders can take, they could have signed up for Spanish, they could have signed up for Japanese, they could have signed up for orchestra, band, choir, art 6, leadership by design. I think those are the 7 they got to choose from.
So I see a follow-up to the field trip question about a Japanese trip. And I do know that our Japanese teacher has started talking with our Spanish teacher about how she does it and is considering doing something. And she does so many different things. She even hosts her own Japanese culture fair every spring. So I know that's something that's in the works.
And our counselor, Ms. Peterson, helped me out. Thank you, Ms. Peterson. PE. That's another one you could take. And there are no AB days. All right. Are there other questions? Are we required to do a National History Day project as a 6th grader? Yes, if you are taking the honors ELA Social Studies section, then yes, you will do a National History Day project. And this question is, Mr. Kane, what's the passing time between periods?
4 minutes. And believe it or not, tardies went down when we went from 5 minutes to 4 minutes. So that's why.
This person wants to know how they can find out if their student is already selected their elective and their student will be in Spanish immersion.
So for the Spanish immersion, they will be signed up. One of their electives will be the Spanish language arts class to go with the Spanish social studies they will be taking. And then if you shoot me an email, I can connect with the counselor or the registrar, and we will get you what your student chose for their 2nd elective. And that could be 1 year long elective, or it could have been 2 semester long electives, depending on what they chose.
Okay. This question is, can students be office helpers?
Yes, but not in 6th grade.
SOAR students, would they be automatically enrolled in the honors classes?
Yes.
And how long are the classes?
Is it 52 minutes or 51 minutes? It's approximately 50 minutes.
I have the schedule. Let me look. Yeah, it's about 52, 53 minutes. And 6 classes total, 4 minutes passing.
With first period having an additional 10 to 15 minutes attached this year, acting as a homeroom.
How long is the whole school day? So we start at 8:10 and we're out at 2:45. And is there a way a specialist comes in for occupational therapy? Yep, our OTs, our PTs, and our speech and language pathologists come in, and they have time scheduled where they meet with their kids, and we work that out with their schedule.
And our occupational therapist we just learned for next year will be Irina Maycomer.
And about backpacks, yeah, I can speak to that. So kiddos come to school, they bring their stuff in their backpack, they go to their locker, they put their backpack in, they take their binder, they go to classes with their binder. At the end of the day, they go back to their locker, put the stuff back in their backpack, and head on home.
And you should know, students, we have classroom sets for most books, and the one exception to that is their math book, and it is a very small, narrow set of books that they change out just about monthly.
And we just about have enough for classrooms. Okay, bus locations. How do they know their bus location?
I believe if you go on the South Kitsap School District website, there's one of the links is to bus locations. And if you type in your address, it will give you your bus stop. Traditionally, that gets updated every August to reflect the next year. But if you contact our counseling department, they can help you get that information.
So there's a question here. I'll answer one part and I'll have Mr. Duarte answer the other part. There are 2 students per locker, and that will be a student in one of your classes. You will not get to pick your locker buddy, but you will get time to get to know each other, and you will work out some norms for using your locker. So that's good news. And the question I want Mr. Duarte to answer is, how will students be taught to use their locker?
Oh, great. So we are going to be scheduling a video that helps demonstrate how to turn the dials and open up a locker. So we will do that. In addition to, at the beginning of every year, what we do is we take time during the school day, to have kids practice. Your teacher will have you go to your locker areas. They'll be there to help monitor. Mrs. Flint, myself, we will be there. The counselors will be there. We will help everybody at the first part of the week, starting of the school year, to help them learn how to open up their locker.
And additionally, at open house night, on your schedule will be your locker number and your combination, and you'll be able to practice that night.
And here's a question about carrying inhalers or EpiPens. I also have a severe allergy and I carry a double EpiPen. And students carry their inhalers and their EpiPens per their agreement. The nurse takes care of all that, and they put them in their binders. The binders we recommend are the zippered binders, and they just slide them in the pocket in their binders so that they have them with them. We definitely want them to have them with them. Mr. Duarte, do students have to take a shower for PE?
You know what? I think in talking with Mr. Grieve, I think he highly recommends a shower, but in most cases, students are not taking showers. And so I think that's a student by student decision.
On that, do they have to change their clothes for PE?
Yes, they will have to turn down for PE. They'll have opportunities to purchase a PE uniform or have something that's very close to what we have. And that's talking through the PE teachers. They can coordinate that.
And when is open house, Mr. Kane?
It's the Thursday before school starts. So I'd have to back that up. It's like the 29th or 30th of August. But it's the week before Wednesday, September 9th.
And we have a parent who bought a lock for their child, and they've been practicing how to do the lock. That's a great strategy.
It's a great strategy.
So
And
it's
Mr.
worth
Duarte,
yeah, it's worth
what,
mentioning that our lockers have the dial that they now have to provide a lock, so that the lockers come with its own dial. And then PE also provides a locker. So for practice purposes that they're working on, perfect. But we will provide them the locker for PE, and there's already a dial lock on their locker.
okay, so where is the student drop-off located?
We have a lot just to the next to the baseball fields, which we encourage families to drop their kids off in because it's the fastest way in and out. You are able to drive in the parking lot if you drive down, and our security is out the first couple weeks of school helping direct people to know how that process works. But the most recommended for easy in, easy out is the lot next to the baseball fields.
And how big are the lockers?
They are about 3 feet tall by 1 foot wide by 2.5 feet deep. Is that accurate?
Pretty darn close, yeah. Okay, let me see, there's
Oh,
quite
by
a
the way, I
few.
saw in there, and I just got to say, school is 180 days.
Is there one set price for all supplies, including the PE uniform?
So, yes, we sell a school supply packet that is one price. PE uniforms are not included in that. That would be an additional, but all a PE uniform is a pair of black shorts with a gray shirt that you can, yes, buy through the school that will have Cedar Heights on it, or you can get a gray shirt and black shorts from any retailer. You're muted.
Sorry, my phone was ringing and I didn't want you to have to hear that. So the Thursday before school starts is September 4th. We have a helpful person there, so that will most likely be the open house. There are 180 days. And what happens if you live under a mile away? That question depends on what street you have to cross. So for bus routes, the best way to do that is to go to the district website and click on the transportation link and enter your address, and they will tell you all that information.
Do we know the price of the packets?
We have not gotten a price on the school supply packet yet, as we are waiting on prices from our vendors. And you can decorate your gym clothes. Yes, you can, as long as you have your first name on the front of your shirt and your last name on the back, and you want to add some bling, great. And I'll take the school supply packet one too. You get your 3-ring zippered binder. You get your pencil pouch, your dividers, your vinyl notebooks that you'll need for math, and your comp books that you'll need for your ELA classes, pencils, pens, highlighters, erasers, and a pencil sharpener are all included in that package. And it's enough pencils and pens to start the school year. It is by no means the total amount of pencils and pens you will need for the whole school year. Mr. Kane or Mr. Duarte, do we have emergency packs in case of fires, or what kind of drills do we do?
So we do have emergency supplies that we keep in an emergency shed that we have available to us if we have an emergency at school. And we do emergency drills once a month. We do several different kinds. We'll do fire drills. We'll do earthquake drills. We'll do lockdown drills. I think that's the extent of the emergency drills we do. And we'll do on a cycling basis each of those once a month. Not each of those once a month, one of those through each month throughout the year, making sure we cover all different types of drills. We try to avoid rainy days just because it makes everyone happier.
What are the school colors? Let me see. I don't know if you can see let's take a guess. I don't know if you can see that. You might guess because the month of October has great deals on our school colors. They are orange and black.
And if any of you care, our rain devil's name is Ed, which is short for education. His favorite candy is a Reese's peanut butter cup. His favorite holiday, of course, is Halloween, because how can you be a rain devil and your colors be orange and black? And this is a little known fact. He has his own theme song. It's Thunder by the Magic Dragons. And then lastly, his birthday happens to be November 14th. And that's because that's the day in Port Orchard that history says it's most likely to rain.
Fun facts, Mr. Kane. This question, is there a class where you go when there's like a chemical spill or something? I think maybe they're talking about a shelter in place drill. We conduct a drill where, let's say a tanker truck on the highway spills some hydrochloric acid and we need to keep everybody inside to keep them safe for the cleanup. That's a shelter in place drill that we would do.
But if you are in science class and there's a chemical spill in your eye, our science classes have an emergency shower to rinse out your eyes and other things.
You guys are great questions, super good questions.
Well, while we have a break, I can't end a presentation by Mr. Kane without sharing with you a question. And so this is one I got today that I should just share. I used to be a part of a secret cooking society. And I recently got kicked out because I spilled the beans. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good joke there. Woo, we got some applause hands here, I see.
Just what you get to look forward to every day at lunch.
All right. This question is how often do things such as lockdowns happen at the school? The state requirement for running our drills is that we run 3 lockdown drills a year. So throughout the school, we have to do at least 3 drills. As far as actual lockdowns, I have been at Cedar Heights for 5 years, and I can't recall a time yet when we've been put into lockdown.
We've done modified lockdowns for things like there was a bear sighted close by and things like that.
Yeah, we really discourage the bears from eating the children. And we do provide counseling. We have 2 wonderful counselors. Miss Peterson, are you still on the call? We might have lost Miss Peterson, but Miss Peterson is one of our counselors and Mr. Teets is the other one, and they are great. Oh, she's here. Miss Peterson, can you unmute yourself? And Mr. Teets is here. Let's find them and I'll see if I can unmute them and unvideo them. Hang on, you can meet our counselors. I'll find them. Okay, here comes Miss Peterson. Maybe if I can get her.
I went
There
ahead
she is.
I went ahead and unmuted Mr. Teets.
Yeah, you had to unmute me. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Mr. Teets. I don't know why my video isn't able to be started, but
Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna let you just a second, Mr. Teets.
Okay. That's fine. I can get started. Yeah. So you asked if we provide counseling, and that we do provide counseling. Me and Miss Peterson are able to help you guys with some social, emotional, as well as academic. We're a resource to you, and we're also a resource to families if they want to talk to us about those types of things. We're very similar to the counselor that you might have at your elementary school, but we also work pretty heavily with schedules, and we're able to help you guys out with that. We already got a chance to meet most of you guys right before the shutdown actually happened for school, so that was awesome. But just once again, just see us as a resource for you. We also have Miss Stansberry. She is what we call an SAP. She's another mental health support person in our school who we might actually we will be collaborating with for you guys. So that's yes, we provide counseling support just in a nutshell there. So I don't know if Ms. Peterson wanted to continue, or are we good?
Oh no, I just wanted to say I'm really excited to have all you guys join us next year, and specific time to see us when you're at school. So what we do is we have little sheets that you can sign, and we will get to you as soon as we possibly can. And then other than that, you can see us. Like we're out during like lunches, and you can come and talk to us then. But we try and get to you like as soon as we possibly can.
And I'm seeing a comment about missing orientation and different things. We do want you to know that the counselors and I will be joining 5th grade Zoom meetings in the next week for all 3 of our feeder elementary schools, for Sunny Slope, Sydney Glen, and Burley Glenwood. We haven't heard back yet from Orchard Heights, but I know that's in the process of being set up, where we'll come out and give you an opportunity to meet with us and ask us additional questions.
Very excited about that as well. And there are spirit days at school. They vary from week to week, so you're gonna hear all about those. They're really fun. So I'm really excited that Allie, you're really excited about those, because we need more spirit in our school, even though we have a lot of it. So that's awesome.
Hey, Mr. Teets, if you needed to, could you switch locker buddies?
So we typically try to, have the students learn to cohabitate, as that's a skill you'll need to learn throughout your life. However, if there's a difference and it's just not working, we are happy to accommodate that if we need to. Also, if you are vertically challenged, either way, you're too tall or you're too short in the locker, because since it's a half and you're not able to get to it as well, we're able to make that change as well. You'll just need to come to the counseling office and we'll resolve that for you.
And Mr. Duarte, can you decorate your locker?
Absolutely. As long as everything is on the inside, we don't want any decorations on the outside part of the door, but as long as you have things to be able to fit on the inside, that's great. Again, talk with your locker buddy and see how you want to put things together, and ensure that both backpacks and other books are able to fit in there once you start doing that.
And both of our counselors are former collegiate athletes. Before I let them tell you what sport, why don't you take a couple guesses in the chat? What sport was Miss Peterson a former collegiate athlete of? And what sport was Mr. Teets a former collegiate athlete of? While we get some more questions, we'll let people put their guesses in. Good guesses that are coming through. Oh, and you gotta leave Zoom for Cub Scouts. Thanks for coming. Can you wear hats in class? You may wear hats in class, but you may not wear hoodies.
And I believe it's up to each teacher. Some teachers do ask students not to wear their hats while they're in their class.